Hello, I'm Socksway Up and welcome back to my first playthrough of Highrise City. So far I'm really enjoying the game. It's a very different feel than City Skylines. There's a lot more to think about with all of the supply chains that we have to take care of and all the individual needs of these citizens. Let's dive into it today. Our goal is going to be getting the brickyard up and running and getting bricks in so we can start progressing and get the fruit farm and a few other things that we needed to get in place to just keep the city growing and really learn how to play the game as we go. So starting off today's episode, I decided to move the electricity out here into this area instead of close to the residential area, and we also moved the trash. First, I realized that the solar panels that we put down, the solar plant needs workers, and we didn't have enough workers for that. So once I removed the wind turbines and moved the solar panels, we killed the city pretty much. We ran out of electricity, so it needs at least 10 workers. So we're gonna have to come on over here, add those turbines back just to get it up and running and get the city happy again. Add in a few more people, and then we can eventually get rid of the turbines and balance it out. I didn't realize that as I was redesigning some things while the game was paused and while I wasn't recording, but we're learning. We're learning as we go. Brand new game, haven't played it before. Again, this is a first walkthrough for me. I was blind to it when we started yesterday's episode. And looks like we're low on water already. I wonder if that's the same issue. Let's jump over here. Let's just let's go ahead and just add another water tank. I need to figure out how to read the resources. So that's given us 2150. And yeah, let's just add another one, see if that makes it happy. That down there. Oh, let's do two. Why not? Let's get ahead. We got money still. We got over $200,000. Not really sure about the balance and the budgets and everything. We'll learn as we go, like I said many times. All right, so that should get everything happy. So now we're ready to start moving on. This is our garbage collection, which is going to collect for this area, but it's going to store the garbage up top here. So yeah, I think that'll be good. So it's kind of bothering me that this area wasn't completely populated yet, so we decided to start doing that first, but we ran out of resources. So the balance of resources is going to be definitely important in this game, unless you just let it play and get completely full. But we'd also need some warehouses because we can only store so many goods as we're learning. So yeah, we let the game play a little bit. We get some more wood in our stock, and then we start filling up the rest of that square. Next, we decided to upgrade the roads. This area here, the houses were too close, so we couldn't upgrade it to the 6-lane road. So we do have to figure out how to demolish. I was trying to figure out how to unzone to begin with. That didn't seem to work. So I think we had to go ahead and delete them, and that's what I did. So we tried to just grab the delete tool, go across that line, go ahead and demolish those. And while the game was paused, then we went ahead and upgraded the road, and that seemed to do the trick. That seems to be the way that you have to do it. I haven't found the ability to move buildings yet. It seems like everything is delete and recreate, which is fine. It's just figuring out what the rules are of the game and what you can do and what you have to do when you try to redesign a city and redesign what you're going for. And here we got these wider roads because this is going to be a main area of the city, turning out pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and rezone the residential in here once we have enough resources. Again, it's a balancing act. You gotta balance and always have resources coming in, and that's what we're gonna try to get to by the end of this episode is start getting a influx of goods and not struggling to missing things. Because really the last thing you want to do on these games is sit around and wait for your resources to pile up. You want to just keep playing, keep developing, and I guess we could put it at ×3 to do that as well. But here we're also noticing it's time to get the fruit in here. Once we unlocked one of the milestones, the needs changed of the residents that we had, so we need to get the fruit in, but we also, before we can make the fruit farm, we have to get the bricks going, and that was the main attraction or the main feature of this episode. So we're going to start working on that right here. You can see once we open up the brickyard, we can see we wasted a little bit with the energy plant, but we have plenty here in the middle. I'm not sure if this is going to completely be enough, and I'm not very happy with that location when I'm designing the city. But you know, it's a real city, or in our heads, it's a real city while we're playing it. So we kind of got to go with what the game gives us and what the map gives us, and try to lay these out the way we like it, and make the city fit around the natural resources as it would in real life. If you were settling a city in a certain area and found some clay pits, you would have to take advantage of it there if you needed bricks and needed to extract the clay. So that's what we're doing here. Trying to find a good way to lay them out and get it all established so we can start moving on and building new buildings that we've unlocked. Here you can get a good idea of how the bend road tool works. We're using it here to line this up. At first I didn't really Wasn't a big fan of the way that turned out. It was a little too sharp, but it looks clean. It looks nice the way that the roads bend. You have a lot of control over the way you want the roads to connect to each other and the bends and curves that you can add to it. And I was just kind of playing around with it, learning it, getting used to the rules and everything on the game. And here I decided to try to fit in 4 of the clay pits, and for some reason it wouldn't let me put that one next to it. I don't know if that has to do with terrain. I haven't played around with that yet, but I have a feeling it did. If we would have flattened that out, maybe once we start playing with the terrain tools, probably could figure out how to get those to sit next to each other. But for now, we do have that gap there. But the brickyard and the clay pits are the combination of the supply chain here. So what we did is we added one of our carriers, one of the delivery guys that comes and picks up things, and we adjusted the reach to where this carrier would only focus on the clay pits. So that was very nice that we could adjust that reach and have this carrier focus in on the industry that we wanted it to focus on. And then to the left of it, so the idea is that it goes, it picks up the clay, takes it back to the warehouse, and then another truck leaves and goes straight over to the brickyards. And the way they produce, the same amount of time and the same amount of resources are needed. So it creates 2 clay balls, I guess, 2 pieces of clay every, I think it was 72 seconds. And then in return, the brickyards have the same productivity. So if we have 4 clay pits, having 4 brickyards is the math that works out there. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna click on bricks again, go into our brickyard and get our 4th one laid down. Once it's up and completely running, and once the resources start getting delivered, it takes a little bit for the trucks and the carrier to kind of get into a good cadence. But once that happens, we start really busting out the supply chain of our bricks and are able to move forward pretty quickly. But here we're running out of water and wood as well, so we had to wait for the game to play, or we had to wait for some resources to get gathered so that we could add water. We're running short on water, so we needed some more. It looks like pretty soon we'll open a bigger water plant so that we don't have to have these little water towers and keep adding them. One thing I did want to look for is if there's a budget or like budgeting tools like City Skylines has, where we can pump out 150% productivity of a building so that we don't have to keep adding them. I'm gonna take a look at that in between episodes and see if I can figure out some things like that as well. Unexpectedly, and before we even got to laying down the fruit farm, we hit another milestone. We're now a small village, which looks like 1,200 craftsmen were in the town. And it opened up a lot of things. It opened up zone employees, zone office complex 2, some leisure buildings, a sheep farm, textile factories, furniture factory, elementary school, all kinds of new things to play around with. At this point, we zoned a little bit. What I'm guessing is commercial. These offices, I'm kind of in my head correlating them to commercial. We're short on workers, so we do need to expand the city. Bricks are a little bit low because the productivity hasn't completely kicked up yet. You see now we have 4 in stock, so that's starting to come in. We're gonna see that pick up here pretty quickly. But now that we have those 4 bricks, we can start working on the needs of these craftsmen and add the fruit farm that they're needing to get fruit into them. One thing I noticed here is the game seems to struggle when you try to start a new farm connected to another farm road. So playing around with that a little bit, it was a little bit of a struggle, but eventually I figured it out. We didn't start over there. You can see it kept wanting to grab that intersection, which I guess is fine. And then you have to click once to start the road. You click a second time to connect the road over here, and then a third time to confirm. In between the 3rd and 4th click, you can move around the factory or the housing part of the farm building. And then that allows you to have a little bit of control of where you want that actual building to be and the farmland to be behind it, which is a pretty cool feature, I think, for the game like this. At this point, the clay still wasn't completely producing as fast as we would like. We have been putting down some buildings and using the clay, but here we expanded. We were short on workers, which I was wondering if that was part of the problem. You can see here we're checking out the population, and at some point we had 20% unemployment. Now we're starting to have 0% unemployment because we don't have enough workers for the jobs we have available. So you can get that to flip-flop and overpopulate. So having a little bit of a balance in doing so is very critical on this game. It appears you actually can have homeless as well, which I can't figure out if those are people moving in while their house is being built yet. We'll get into that. We'll figure it out later on. But you can see we have available jobs, and a ton of employed people. So it seems that at this point we have 1,000 jobs to play with and find people to get hired for those. Also haven't touched on education yet. We're going to check that out in the next episode, but there's a lot of things that it seems like the depth of this game is pretty large, and I'm excited to find that out as we go. Here's where we finally figure out to de-zone something is to demolish it. Just like if you're deleting a building you didn't want anymore, you use the same tool, which is interesting and kind of makes sense. It's just, playing City Skylines as long as I have, I've been thinking about, using the zoning tools for that. So here we finally jump into our resources and start looking at the balance of things. It looks like wood productivity we could increase based on how we're using it. Clay, we're starting to see it come up. We're starting to see it finally getting up to snuff with productivity. Tools are going to start being an issue at this point because we aren't producing any tools. We just started with, I think, 50 to begin with. And so eventually we're going to have to figure that out. And it seems like there is a good amount of ramp up time between laying down these fruit or pretty much every resource, every supply chain, and getting the goods to actually start coming in. You can see it took a while for the fruit farms. They were producing at 100%, but it took a little while for those goods to get delivered and start getting into the supply chain for people to be able to go to the stores and buy them and purchase them and feel that their needs were getting satisfied. So at this point, I also realized we were in the negative, but as the fruit was coming in and we're starting to get more people moving in, that was starting to take care of itself, and we started to flip back to making money as well. You can see our wood supply has recovered as well since we haven't built anything in a while. So there is a little bit of a balance of the city can produce things at a certain amount of time, and if you build too fast, you kind of mess that up a little bit. So at this point, we decided to try to find our small port. So we wanted to get the port going. I wanted to import some goods, and then potentially I wanted to sell some things that we had. We are producing a lot of fish. It seems like we have more fish than we need. So I decided to kind of take a look at the trading in this game at this point and see if we can really maximize that profit, as well as bring in some goods to the city that we aren't producing yet to kind of keep the flow and keep us progressing in the build of this city. So we get that laid down and we come in here and we hit the open trade menu and we can start setting up things to sell. We're going to sell some fish, but we're going to move this up because we always want to keep, we're going to say 44, or maybe let's put it to about 50. Let's see, you can edit it as well, which is really nice. So we can just type in a number there. And then we're also going to sell some vegetables because we seem to have a good amount of those as well. We have 118 right now. I was trying to see if there's like an auto way of setting it up to say, let's keep the amount that we're using, and based on the income and or inflow and outflow of it, kind of trying to balance the supply and demand, kind of how you do in Anno 1800 when you're shipping things around to different islands as well. It kind of reminds me of that. But you can see right there, quickly our profit started skyrocketing all the way up to about 7,000, and it dropped down to about 4,000. So that's definitely going to fluctuate based off the goods that we sell and also the goods that we start purchasing here, because we're gonna start doing some purchasing as well and not just selling. Now that our current residents are satisfied with the fruit demand, we're going to start moving over to some services, and we're going to check out the police station, the fire department, get all those things going for them that they want. They also want religion. So trying to find exactly where those were in the menu to begin with. It took me a little bit to find that. It apparently is under the same menu as electricity and water, so apparently all of those are considered services, which I guess makes sense. But you can see the nice green area shows the range of the church. So this church is going to cover the first neighborhood that we added in. It's not going to cover this new one, so we're going to have to put a second one down to hit the needs of that area as well. So we put that there, and then we're going to jump into making sure everything is good. Actually, it didn't put it down. Sometimes the game makes the noise of it actually put it down, but it doesn't, because I think it then realizes the materials aren't there. We also had a little bit of a glitch, as we'll see in the upcoming seconds here. But first, we're going to start purchasing tools. These are going to be expensive. We're going to be losing money because of this, but I want to always have 30 in stock. So I set that to 30. We should be then purchasing them the next time the ship comes around. We should get them in there. We'll lose some money from that. But you can see to the middle top left of the screen, there's 2 churches that got put there. Definitely didn't click there, so it seems like a little bit of a bug in the game. Unfortunately, we lose some resources by doing that. Some are refunded to us when we demolish it. Not as much as we would like though, but the shipment looks like it came in, so we can now put the church down where it belonged. It actually put it down there. When I said that you heard it build it, but you didn't see it happen. Sometimes it apparently just shows up randomly on the map. So we got the church set up, we got that taken care of. So now we have the religious services taken care of. Next, we needed to add another hospital for or a doctor's office. It's not a hospital. We're not to that point yet. We had a doctor's office to this area as well because they didn't have that coverage, that service they were not happy with. So we just had 2 left at this point, and that was fire as well as police. Again, we find those in the services menu and find a good location for this one to be put down. We have enough resources because of the shipments that we're getting coming in. We have enough tools to lay these down. So we're just trying to figure out exactly where we want them, figure out that one's going to go there. We'll come over to this area, place one down to cover this other first neighborhood that we built. And then we'll go back to the service menu, rinse and repeat with the fire department as well. Just like that. So at this point, we have to wait for those buildings to build. And then after they are finished being built, the happiness of all of the citizens in town should be perfect. We have every service that they need covered. It's time to move on to the next phase of the game, which I don't know what that is yet. But we're taking a look at our resources here, making sure everything's good. Fish is starting to drop, but since we have that set up, we should be okay. We'll always have about 50. Here we decided that we're going to sell clay now that we're producing it pretty well. We're always going to keep 50 in stock for ourselves, or 49, I guess I set it at there. But that should allow us to build as well as sell and start making money off of the goods that we're producing in our town. As you can see, 11,000 is the profit. I'm not sure if that's per day or per month yet. Haven't really dug into that on this game, or per week like it is in City Skylines. And then we also decided to sell wood. So it looks like this specific harbor or port is full. We have the 5 trades set up that we can do. So if we want to add any more, we will have to build another port to add more trades. Earlier, we talked about unemployment getting a large percentage, and this is where it is in the video. 23%, there's almost 800 people unemployed. It seems that we started growing the city faster than we had jobs to fill. So the balance there, you have to play before the city gets mad at you. So we're adding in a few more offices. I didn't want to start using the new tier of, or the next tier of offices and citizens in this episode. I'm going to hold that off to the next one. So I wanted to fill in these existing areas that we've started zoning with the level 1 or the level 0. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. The craftsmen and then the offices is what the game calls it. We wanted to do that for this episode and kind of see where it is, let some resources gather, see if we can get that unemployment number to drop a little bit, get it in a happy place so we can start off fresh with a happy city for the next episode. And towards the end of this episode, I did want to show some features. You can change the farm model, so we can change it around to get one that we like, that we want to see. And then we get this pop-up that's saying I can press F to drive a vehicle. How cool is that? So we're going to give that a shot. So here, let's find a vehicle that we want to drive around. Let's see this one. Let's press F. Oh, it just pops in a truck. So we get to drive this truck around, and just kind of like any other game, we're just pressing forward. We're going to slow down so we don't run into this. But I think, yeah, okay, so we are definitely not really in the game. So cars can drive through us. The collisions happen. Oh, we just got stuck and we crashed. We should probably stay away from the police station because we're definitely going to get pulled over. So just press F and we are in the field. Kind of a cool feature. You can drive around, you get this closer view of your city, and you can apparently just fly through and cut over to the next fields and kind of, maybe this is what you do while you wait for resources to gather in your city and wait for your lumber yards and your brick houses or brick yards to get caught up. But then the fence, we can't drive through the fence. So let's go ahead and find the exit to this farm. Nice little parking lot here. Some people working. Let's not run into anybody or ruin their day. No exit here yet. Oh, sorry, buddy. Okay, let's 4-wheel drive. Let's try to find a neighborhood around here. So here we go. Here's a neighborhood. And again, one of the things that I've found kind of strange is the way the residential areas zone in, where they don't really have roads. So as we drive through here, we get a good idea of how it's actually doing that. It is these kind of side roads. I just don't think it's very, very realistic. So the more I get used to this game, we're going to play around with the way that we do zoning and figure out exactly what to do about that aspect of the game. But that's going to pretty much do it for this episode. Let me know, everybody out there that's watching, if you're playing this game or if you're watching these to try to decide if you want to buy it, if you have questions. I am recording a few of these in advance, so it might take a couple episodes for me to get back to you. I definitely respond to every comment in YouTube, so you can do that and rely on me to to get back to you if you have any questions or you want me to feature something in a video that you have questions about. Definitely hit me up in the comments, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Yeah, and let me know if you're trying out this game as well, or what you think of these videos, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Highrise City.